Lots of people hate this, lots of people love this. I say that every time too. What am I drinking? Now today, you might be actually interested because it's not beer. Well, technically, it's not completely beer. It is ginger beer mixed with Crown Royal, Regal Apple, and a little squirt of lime juice. And my friend just showed me this, and it's supposedly called a Canadian Mule. And my girlfriend misheard it as Canadian Moose. So I like that name more, the Canadian Moose. But I don't know where the mule part comes from. I know like there's Moscow Mule, and that's what this is kind of, playing off of, but it's not vodka, it's Crown Royal whiskey. I don't know. It's a delicious drink. It's got like a shot and a half in it. Can't taste any alcohol. It's wonderful. Let's get that little throat burn of ginger beer too. Really good ginger beer too. Fever Tree Premium ginger beer. I love when people put premium in front of stuff. Like, what makes it premium? I have no idea. Really expensive ginger beer. I really hope it's actually premium, whatever the hell that means. So today's story was brought to us by, I actually have their name over here, Jacob. I want to thank Jacob for this idea, and it is the launch of new systems, which kind of plays into all this talk of the PS5, Xbox, the new Xbox, new model of Switch. I mean, there's all these new consoles being rumored out there. So today's a good day to talk about it. What exactly, though, do I mean by console launches? What am I talking about exactly today? I'm talking about what it is like to, like the build up, the lead up to a console launch, when it happens, and kind of the aftermath of the whole thing. So the lead up is just hype city. You're constantly telling people this is going to be the best system, stuff like that. But at the same time, especially if it's like the Xbox and PS4, and they're launching pretty close to each other, you don't want to pick a favorite when you're working at GameStop. You don't want to be a fanboy, basically. You don't want to be the internet. Because if you're the internet, you're not going to be helping a whole lot of people. You're just going to be pissing people off, alienating them. You basically just need to talk about the facts. Like, this one can do this, whereas this one can't. Whereas the PS4 and Xbox One, I'm trying to think of any determining factors of those systems. I mean, they're not really the most unique things in the world at launch. Both had, I think Xbox One had better launch titles. PS4 had like Infamous 2 and Knack. I mean, garbage ass games. Well, Infamous isn't bad, but I mean, Knack. What the fuck? And there were some other just shit games that came out near launch. Same with the Xbox One. I mean, it came with Titanfall near launch, I believe. Very difficult. It feels like it was so many years ago that those systems came out, but I don't really remember either of them having a stellar launch lineup. I think when I got the Xbox One, which I bought off of a friend, I got it at a decent deal. It was the only reason I was buying it. It came with a bunch of games. That Roman game was shit. That was a launch title. It's coming back to me. Dead Rising, the new Dead Rising for that system at the time was complete dog shit. It was just garbage game after garbage game, as are most launch titles. Unfortunately, I don't know why. I mean, I feel like the Nintendo Switch had like the best launch title ever. Nintendo Wii had a good launch title that came with the system. Otherwise, there was nothing else out for it, I believe, which was Wii Sports. I don't know how long it took for Twilight Princess to come out or any of the Mario games, but remember Wii Sports. Launch titles are usually garbage, which is unfortunate. Maybe they're not usually I'm trying to think of this, guys. I'm trying to think of all the different launch games that have come out for systems, but I do remember for the PS4 and Xbox One, very mediocre launch. I know Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare came out near launch, because that's about when I bought my system off of somebody, because they needed the money. I originally thought I was just going to trade in that game to GameStop, because it's just Plants vs. Zombies, who gives a shit? And then it turned out to be one of me, I can't speak today. One of my favorite game franchises of all time. I mean, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare is phenomenal. So, it was kind of difficult, honestly, the lead up to the PS4 and Xbox One to get super excited just because the piss poor games that were coming alongside it. I mean, same with the Wii U. I don't really remember anything of note. I think Pikmin 3 might have been coming out near launch. I don't know. It was just a bunch of mediocrity all around for that generation. Really sad. So you usually had to play up on other people's hype to sell the pre-orders for the system. But most of the time when it led up to a console's launch, most people would be selling themselves on the system. You didn't really have to say anything. You didn't really have to do anything. They had already been hyped up by whatever corporation they followed and went, oh, PlayStation's the best because look at all these videos and trailers and stuff I've been watching, and on the news it's going to be so much more powerful than the Xbox One. And it is more powerful than the Xbox One, but it was just all these different things that people would read up on, and usually people did their own research. If people asked me what system I recommended, I always said, what do you prefer? Because at the time, this is how it was kind of, you know, it made sense at the time. Now, not so much. But back when PlayStation had a lot more action, adventure, RPG, stuff like that, they had shooters, but that wasn't the main focus of the PlayStation 3. It was mostly adventure, platformers, stuff like that, you know, Little Big Planet. And the Xbox was Call of Duty, Gears of War, BioShock. I mean, these were the games you thought of when you thought of the Xbox. And I know those games are on the other system as well, but they just seem to be a bigger fan. I mean, Halo, right? I mean, Gears of War, Halo, all of these shooter exclusives. And it was a very much, you know, it was the bro Doritos, Madden, Call of Duty console. So whenever somebody would ask me, which system should I get in the future? And you kind of have to base it off of what's right now, because you don't know a million different games that are coming out except for the shitty launch titles that are coming out for the system. So I would tell people, if you want a more rounded experience, if you want adventure, if you want RPG, stuff like that, I would get a PlayStation. If you want an Xbox, or if you want shooters, you want sports games, blood and gore, go with Xbox. Because that's kind of what made sense for the Xbox 360. So you kind of have to go, well, what franchises are going to carry over onto the next system? That's what you have to kind of think about. And I mean, we're kind of right. It's sort of a prediction when you're telling people this at the time. I mean, I would tell them that. I'm like, we don't know so much information right now. This is what we know. This is what it's been like. Here's what I think. And they were free to make up their own decision. There was no wrong answer unless you bought the Wii U. So now it's kind of funny, though, because the PlayStation, this has nothing to do with launches, but the PlayStation is now kind of the Call of Duty machine. You know, it's like the one that I believe gets all the stuff first. I believe esports revolves around PS4 now. Really interesting how it flip-flops, because Microsoft has no exclusives that are only on Xbox. They're all the Play Everywhere things, and even then with the Play Everywhere things, there's no exclusives just in general. It makes me sad. So much potential lost. I mean, they did so well last generation. So we get lots of pre-orders, lots of people coming in to make payments towards the new systems, kind of like a layaway program. It's the same thing that you do with pre-orders with games, except the pre-order for a system, I believe, was $100. And you'd constantly be getting people in before a system comes out, because they're constantly making payments like it's a car or something. It's really weird. They'll come in and put like a couple bucks, 10, 15 bucks. The nice things for employees is these don't really count as transactions, because they're just pre-order stuff. I mean, if they're buying stuff along with it, okay, whatever. But a lot of the time, we tried to take advantage of those people constantly coming in and reminding them of all the games that are coming out at launch. Because you get a lot of pre-orders near the launch of a new system, because you've got the system to be pre-ordered, an extra controller, the games, all of that kind of stuff. And you know they capitalized on that shit. Especially headsets. Because headsets, I think those come out a little bit after launch. I don't know if they have any headsets at launch. I think there's a couple made by Sony and Microsoft. So you pitch pre-orders of headsets and stuff like that. This is like the perfect time for pre-orders and number of items per transaction, because speaking of number of items of transaction, let's get to launch day. Now we'll go back real quick to, we'll go back a little bit later to pre-release, but let's talk about launch for a second, because we're talking about pre-orders and transactions and stuff like that. So when you are launching the system, that is when you really try to cash in on those people that pre-ordered a bunch of stuff. You try to get them more accessories. You try to get them to buy batteries. You try to get them to buy every single thing off the wall. Because, why not? It's a very exciting time for a lot of people. People aren't in the same mindset as the usual GameStop visit. They're spending a lot of money on this new system that really doesn't have that many games. And they're just excited. They want to experience something new. This is a new form of technology. It's the next generation of console. So that's, especially during the Wii time, I mean, you could sell Wii emotes, nunchucks, extra of those Vision, the sensor bars. Vision, what the? You could do one, well, Wii Motion Plus, I guess, wasn't around at launch, but you could sell so many different accessories, especially with the Wii. I mean, all those stupid, like, sports add-ons. It's like these plastic bats and tennis rackets that a ton of people bought, including my parents, and then never used, and then they just kind of collected dust, and then you donate them, but nobody wants them. Another thing about launch was you usually have a midnight launch for these systems, and it's just like the midnight launch of a game, but a bunch of other games at the same time. So it's just this huge storm of shit. Like, it's just so many things you've got to get in order. People are running down the line, grabbing receipts, checking off what they need. You stack it all up. When they get there, all the stuff is ready for them. And then you do the pitch for all the upcoming games real quick, because there's so many other people in line. If they say no, whatever. If they say yes, okay. If they say maybe, you try to hurry them along just because there's so many people. It was like this like just crazy amount of people, and everyone is super pumped. There's so much energy in the air because so many people are so excited for this brand new system. And I had that feeling kind of for the Switch. I feel like, yeah, that feeling was definitely there. The energy was still there. I'm trying to remember my most recent launch that I was a customer at and not an employee at, which was the Switch. And yeah, it was definitely a lot of excitement in the air. A lot of people not sure which stores they're going to get pre-orders at. It was more of an uncertainty than an excitement. Whereas GameStop, pretty much everybody that showed up got a system. I remember selling out, but I don't believe we sold out that night that I can think of. For any of the systems. I don't think we sold out that night. I believe it was later down the road. And they usually did have a good amount of systems in transit at all times. So that was nice. There weren't too many angry people that I can think of that didn't get a system. I know there were definitely a few, and they got really flustered, but it's like, it's not our fault you didn't pre-order it. That was a time where you really tried to make it sink in. You need to pre-order the system if you want it. And the more pre-orders of the system we got, the more systems we got besides the pre-orders. A lot of people don't realize that pre-orders used to be an allocation type thing. They used to tell a store, or they used to tell the distributors how many to send to this store. How big is the demand at this store for this product? And that's what pre-orders were supposed to be, and that's what they're supposed to be now. But now they're turned into this money-grubbing bullshit thing where you get content locked off, but that's another argument for another day. So, talking about pre-release again, jumping back in time, man, the back room sucked. Oh my god, because the systems, especially like, I don't know if you've noticed now, they kind of slimmed down the boxes. The PS4 were fine. Those were kind of like thin little boxes. But the Xbox One, because you had to buy the stupid-ass Kinect with it when it first came out. These big fucking green boxes, and of course the Day 1 edition, I believe was black. But man, there's so many of them, and they're so big, so like the whole back room, there's barely anywhere to walk. It was insane. I mean, we had to kind of like make paths to the bathroom and to the back room in order to do anything. It was insane. And of course, all the launch games. also taking up all this room. And we had to process these systems. Now that it's coming back to me, I guess we didn't have systems. Those were games that were blocking the entire back, because the systems we usually would have to process and then shove them in the back room. And the back room would just get so full. I'm trying to remember if at some point they did spill out of the back room, because they were really strict about making sure that we had all the consoles in this locked up extra back room area. Because like there's the back room and there's the systems room. And it's like that door is locked. You need the keys to open it. So I don't remember if we just had like, I think we did. I think we had them like piled up to the ceiling of these Xbox One systems at some point. And counts were a bitch, because we had to like get a ladder and you had to like reach, and you don't want to fall off and die in this little tiny room and have it lock you in and nobody from the outside can get you. It was a pain in the ass before the launch. It was nice to finally have the launch, because you just have this just screwed up clusterfuck of a back room. You just want the system release already and just get it out of the door. Because I really wasn't too excited for the Xbox One or really the PS4 at launch, because like I said, the launch titles were kind of shit, so I didn't have the same energy a lot of other people did. I was very happy with my PS3 and Xbox 360 at the time. I was playing, Halo and Call of Duty and all that other stuff, and I was perfectly happy with what I had. And seeing the just sad excuse for launch titles made me just not really care that much. The only reason I got my PS4 and Xbox One so soon after launch was because I was actually going to wait for the second iteration of it. I was going to wait much later on for bundles, Black Friday deals, stuff like that. Stuff that smart people do. I was going to do that, but somehow, some way, Target had the PS4 for 20% off, so I got it for like $320. There's tax, of course, and then I got the Xbox One. I don't know how much I spent on that. I think it may have been $400, but it came with the Kinect and a stack of games and an extra controller, which I still have, which is cool. I don't remember exactly how much I paid for that. Probably too much. That one's gone now. I still have my original PS4, but I have the Xbox One S now, because the Xbox One original was a giant VHS player and looks like crap and ran like crap near the end of its lifespan. So, really, console launches were just it was an exciting time, definitely, to be working at GameStop. It made everything a lot more interesting, because you're constantly glued to the news about everything you can tell the customers that are coming in, because I wanted to keep people informed. I was the opposite of a lot of other managers that tried to pull the wool over customers' faces and just tell them lies about everything that was coming out. I wanted to let them know as factually and as honestly as I could what the new systems would be like, what the games were going to be, what they're going to be like, stuff like that. And now I wouldn't try to dissuade people from pre-ordering a certain game, because if you really want to pre-order Knack, I'll let you pre-order Knack. It wasn't out yet. I couldn't tell you it was a shit game. I just knew that it looked like a pile of garbage tech demo that was like, look at how many things we can have on screen. Look at Knack's made of 1 billion pieces. So, yeah. It was just an exciting time to be working there. Post-release always was a lot more boring, because we just had like this... It's like you just got really hyped up, really energetic, and then you just crashed afterwards. It's like you drank a giant coffee, and then you just crashed. Because a lot of the titles weren't coming out for a long time after the system launch. There was nothing really that exciting coming out. The system launch happened. It was done. You'd occasionally try to convince people to upgrade, but because, like I said, shit launch titles, no reason to upgrade yet. Later on down the road, it got a little bit more exciting when they started releasing new games, and you really did start seeing a flood of the older systems coming in. That was another thing pre-release as well. Lots of the older generation of systems were flooding in, so lots of time spent testing those damn systems, making sure they're okay, making sure they're clean, wiping systems, shipping systems, boxing systems. It was just, and it was like the back room was never emptying. It was just filling up with all of these old systems and the new. And I think that's why we might have had systems just in the back room, because it's just a huge clusterfuck of a bunch of stuff being shipped in and a bunch of old systems being traded in. And of course, during this time, during pre-release, launch, and post-launch, very long time after post-launch, you don't have a whole lot of people buying the older system. You just have lots of people trading in their 360s and PS3s and Wii's. And you just got this massive inventory, and it was insane. It was just so much stuff flooding in. There were definitely still a lot of people that were not early adopters, and they still, bought used games of the older system, but the people that had the older system usually stuck with it, and the people that didn't have the older system were waiting for the new one. So it's just this weird limbo of a bunch of stuff sitting in our back rooms. So like I said, all in all, new system launches were a blast. They made work a lot more fun. It was a bit more stressful because of all the marketing. Of course, I forgot to mention that. All the marketing that was going up. It was cool seeing the TV constantly change to new stuff. You didn't get stuck with the same games over and over and over and over. You sometimes would have clips of live coverage discussing the new systems. It was just a time of change and new stuff, and that's always exciting. That's new technology is always exciting, especially when you are a gamer and it happens to be your console that you have been playing for a long time that is getting an upgrade soon. So it was a lot of fun seeing people super excited about the new stuff, seeing people celebrate running out of the store with their new Xbox, running out of the store with the new PlayStation. It was a good time. It was a good time during launch. I know that's probably not the answer you guys expected. It was stressful. I do want to say that. It was a little bit frustrating because they got a little bit stricter during those times. They wanted a lot more pre-orders just because there was a lot of stuff coming out soon. And they wanted the allocations, made for the stores. And yeah, that's new system launches. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like the video if you guys liked it. Comment down below, because this came from Jacob. If you have any ideas for a GameStop Tales from Retail or a Walmart Tales from Retail, GameStop particularly, because I'm kind of running out of ideas in the list. I'm sure I'll come up with more, but your help is greatly appreciated. Also, comment down below what your experience was like at a new game launch, or not a new game launch, a new system launch, and what it was like if you were disappointed when you got your system when you got it home, stuff like that, because it all kind of applies. I mean, you would hear from customers that would get this brand new system, get a couple of the launch titles, come back a couple days later and go, I kind of regret getting that because these games are garbage. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry. At least there's going to be more games in the future. It's not like these are going to be the only games that are going to come out for the system, thankfully. But yeah, let me know if it was fun, if it was disappointing, or if you worked there and it was way too stressful and you couldn't handle it. And as always, even if the launch titles suck for your favorite system, have a fantastic day. See you guys. It's definitely one of my new favorite drinks. It's really good. I like the throat burn. I hope the ice cubes didn't make a shit ton of noise throughout the video. At one point, I kind of just kept going like this and looking to see if the mic was picking it up. It didn't seem like it, but if it did, I'm sorry. Maybe that's just some ice cube ASMR. I don't know. I don't watch those videos. I was recently told what it was because somebody told me that, it was a long time ago, that my videos were ASMR. I don't know how. It's just me recounting my times at retail. If anybody complains that I'm bitching in this episode, they can go fuck themselves, because I didn't complain about anything. I just said that the goals were a little bit more strict. I didn't This was a pretty positive episode of Tales from Retail. This was me just kind of discussing kind of an exciting time to work at GameStop. I know it was probably a little bit more stressful than I remember, but I don't remember it being that bad. The only thing that sucked was, like I said, the billions of systems in the back room and trying to manage that. But the launch itself was pretty cool, all that stuff. I don't know. I don't really remember too many negative things about new system launches working there.